Have you ever walked into Costco and you're going in for raspberries and maple syrup and you come out $600 later? I think we've all been there a time or two. That's what we're diving into today. Today's episode is all about mindful spending or lack thereof. So, we are going to be tackling the unconscious spending habits we've gotten into and how to get out of those spaces. That's what today is all about. I am your host, Maria Condi, and I am a life and business strategist and helping you with money mindset. And I'm a catalyst for people to get them going, get them unstuck and into action. So that's what I'm all about. And hopefully, in today's episode, this actually propels you to have a little bit more mindfulness when you are spending your money. And I find even some of the wealthiest people do not spend mindfully. And sometimes even more so because they have money and it doesn't matter as much to them if they're just spending it frivolously. I had a mentor at one point in my life, was a good friend, and she had a lot of money. And, if you went into her closet, she'd have one blouse that she loved. She'd have it in every color, but all the tags are still on it. That comes from mindless spending or unconscious spending. So let's unpackage this a little bit today. Um, and just I wanted to note too, this piece that I'm doing today, this segment, is under a new umbrella of healthy wealthy that I wanted to talk about because health is wealth, and I'm trying to get people to change their mindsets around money being evil, money being bad, because money's really good, and there's a lot of correlation between having money and being healthier. You have the means to be able to afford to look after yourself in better ways. So I want, my mission in life is for women to be financially independent on their own and not having to ask for money. It's okay if you're married and you've got, a wealthy partner, that's okay. But I believe every woman should be able to be independent on their own financially if they need to be. I've seen it happen many times in my life, clients and friends. And it's really quite alarming at the outcome when that has to step in, when they have to be financially independent. And whether if you're not set up for it, it's not pretty. So, with that, I digressed already. I'm going to stick to my notes because you know me, I do best with that. So, what is unconscious spending? And it's exactly what I talked about. When we go to Costco and you go in the door and your brain is like, okay, I'm just coming in here for raspberries and maple syrup. That was the last thing I went into Costco for. So that's top of mind. And then you come out and you've bought a Christmas tree and some new tires for the car and a whole bunch of things that you just don't need. Maybe you do need them, but maybe, it wasn't right the time to do that. Or maybe you've gone into debt for those things. So when you're going into a store and you're just not consciously, like, you're not saying, here's my list. I came in for raspberries and maple syrup. Let's just go get those, go to the checkout and leave. That's mindful or conscious spending. When you've done the other, that's unconscious spending. So, like, what causes unconscious spending? So I want you to, I'm going to encourage you many times throughout today's talk to think about those times when you're actually doing that, right? I use Costco because almost everybody I know talks about when they go into Costco and they come out and like they've just blown it, right? And often there's a few different reasons for this. Sometimes you've just gotten into the habit of spending money. It's plain and simple. It's habitual. There's also unmet needs. And there are things like keeping up with the Joneses, but that's also part of an unmet need. And like I said, there's just an addiction to shopping. If you're up late night on Amazon and your first name basis with the Amazon delivery person, you might need to think about that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. There's long-term ramifications for spending unconsciously. They can get you into all sorts of debt. You can end up with a whole bunch of things in your house that you just don't want or need. I am a minimalist, so I only bring into my house what I love. I did Marie Kondo's book quite a few years ago, her program, and I learned a lot. And now when I go to the store, I look at it and go, like, I gotta really love it before it comes into my house. And if I don't absolutely love it, and like hands down love it, it does not come home with me. Okay, unconscious spending can lead to stress, debt, financial instability, losing like that feeling of losing control over your money. You don't want that, right? Um, and it can affect your mental and emotional well-being too, because you're going to end up with, feeling guilty about things, and it just kicks up a whole bunch that you don't feel good about yourself, okay? So lots of emotions when it comes to spending. Lots. Lots. When I was in the corporate world, I would go out on my lunch hour, and this is like when I was at like late 20s, early 30s, making pretty good money for my age. And I could go out on my lunch hour and spend $500 to $1,000 and not blink an eyelash. Not even blink. It's gone. Actually, it was in debt at that point in time in my life. And, you know, I didn't, I wasn't consciously aware of what was going on with me at the time. I didn't feel good about debt, but I wasn't aware of the whole, like all of it. And I did learn over years about unmet needs and all the emotions and all the things that are going on with that. And I had to work through my own stuff over the years. Now I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum, and I don't even like shopping anymore. If I go into a store, it's like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to spend money. Kind of swung maybe a little too far the other way. I do still buy things, and I buy things that are very intentional. And so I can still spend money. This last week, I went into a clothing store. And I did Marie Kondo's clothing, like her whole program, like many, many years ago when it first came out. And I, it was alarming. It was really, really alarming. It was, I had so much anxiety when I did it. However, I learned you can't go around things. You got to go through things. You got to deal with the shit. Okay? You have to deal with it. And so I had unmet needs. I was addicted to shopping. There was a long list of things. I had to deal with all of that. And it doesn't go away overnight. It takes some therapy. It takes, doing all the work, the inner work to get through that. And, understanding your emotional needs yourself is part of the process of working through this. I know a lot of people are already like, oh my God, no, I'd just rather spend and deal with it later. Well, later can get really nasty if you're not looking after things properly. Um, we use shopping to boost our mood sometimes. And so you need to be aware of that. It's all part of the process of being consciously aware. And you'll get there eventually. It doesn't happen overnight, like I said. I did the Marie Kondo method thing, and it really forced me overnight because it was overwhelmed. Um, we talk about retail therapy, and we kind of joke about it. Like, I'm just going to go out for some retail therapy, but there's some real seriousness to that too. And I've said that many times. I use that phrase once in a while now, even, but I'm like really consciously aware of it now. And I'm like, is that the right? Should I be saying that? There are times when we actually have a true addiction to spending and like serious problems with it. And I don't want you to feel, the shame and the guilt. Well, you will feel that regardless often. But you can get help for that. And I encourage you to seek that out because you don't need to live with that your whole life. And it's amazing how many people are addicted to spending. It's off the charts. It's crazy. So I want to talk about guilt for a minute, letting go of guilt, because as you're learning to spend consciously and you screw up once in a while because we're human, don't get into a cycle of guilt about it. Because when you feel guilty, it's going to make you feel bad, which is going to make you want to go spend more money, which is going to make you feel guilty again. And it's going to cause probably debt and it's going to spiral down. You know, what you need to do is say, okay, Why did I do that? So I went out today and I just spent $500 on clothes. What did I do? Why did I do that? Get curious about it. Say, oh, that's because I talked to so and so and she triggered me and just really annoyed me today. And I wasn't feeling good about myself. Or, there could be a million different reasons why, right? But I want you to stop for a moment and think about that. Why what triggered you in that moment to send you off shopping or on Amazon in the middle of the night? So when you are standing in the mall, and I do this like even now, I don't like shopping that much. And when I go into a mall, if I find myself in a mall, and it does happen once in a blue moon, not very often, I walk through the door and I'd be walking around and all of a sudden it's like, why am I here? Why am I here? Like, why am I here? You did not come in with a list. It's not like you need a white shirt and a new bra. You're on autopilot. You're not thinking. And think about, stop, pause, walk away if you need to. It's okay. Create those moments of awareness. Check in with you inside. What's going on? Somebody annoying you? What's going on? Okay. So when it comes to mindful spending, I have to admit, the Marie Kondo method is one of the things that really propelled me into mindful spending because her whole theory is like it should bring you joy. Every piece that you bring into your home should bring you joy. And I really lean into that now. I really think it's important. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole house full of stuff that does not mean anything to you and you've just blown a bunch of money. And when I did the Marie Kondo thing, that was the first thing that came up for me was I sat there and looked at all the clothes across the living room floor, some with tags on it. And I looked at how much money I spent. That's what went through my head. You've got thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of things on the floor here. You could buy a freaking house with this. And a lot of it I didn't even love. I got rid of 17 bags, or the 13 or 17 bags, or the lot. It was huge. And what was left in my closet was things that I absolutely loved, that fit me beautifully, and then made me feel good. So you can take that method if you want. Um, you have to do the full-on things. People say, well, I went to my closet. No, you got to do like if you're going to do it, you need to do it full on. And it is, you take everything out of every drawer, every closet, your gym bag out of the trunk of the car, your winter clothes in storage, like the trunk under the bed with stuff in it, everything, everything out of every closet, nook and cranny, drawer, everywhere. And you put it on your living room floor. And you'll find that you have, a 20 by 10 area with 2 feet of things on it. And then you go, wow, it's alarming. It really is. You can't, if I just go through my closet, which I just did recently for fall and stuff, I brought in a couple new sweaters and I said, okay, what's got to go out? And it's not the same. It doesn't have the same impact. It does not have the same impact. When you have everything you own on the floor sitting in front of you, and it's alarming. So, there's benefits of mindful spending. Clearly, there's a financial benefit. You can have much more financial stability. Um, it's powerful when you make choices with your money that are mindful. You're not just running around unconsciously on everything, but when you're doing things intentionally, it's powerful. It helps with your emotional well-being. That all is layered together. You're not going to be stressing about the purchase you made, hiding them in the closet from your husband. Been there. You're not going to be even hiding them from yourself and I used to do that. When I was in my 30s, I'd go shopping and I'd leave the bags in the closet because I just couldn't deal with it. It's like, fuck, you went shopping again. And it would be days before I could pull those items out of the bags. And you'll just find more joy in life overall when you start doing things with more mindfulness and intention. So, how do you become a mindful, intentional consumer? Well, you have to create a spending plan. And, some people say you have to have a budget. I don't, I create a spending plan because there's some psychological side, pieces to that. Budget is very restrictive. Spending plan allows you to spend your money. And I think it's important to spend money to a certain degree. I don't think it's meant to be hoarded. I believe that money should flow to you easily and flow out of you easily, but you with consciousness and making sure everything has been taken care of on the other side of the fence, your mortgage, your car, your health, all the things, right? So create that plan of how you're going to spend your money. I recently needed a couple new sweaters I wanted for winter. And I was going to there's one boutique here in the city I live in. And I said, I'm just going to go in, see if I know they got lots of fall stuff in. And of course, I tried on like 40 things. And then I got to the counter and it's like, okay, I had a budget. What do I need? What do I absolutely love in this pile that's going to bring me joy? My budget was $500. And which ones make me feel good? And I was able to work through the pile. There was a skirt that I absolutely loved that I've been looking for that type of skirt for a really long time. It was not my intention to go in, but it's like, here's my budget and or my spending allotment. How can I make this work? Right. And so I did. Years ago, I would just said, here's my credit card, here's Amex, and walked out with all of it. But no, I said, I'm going to stick to this because I don't have room in my closet for this. I'm a minimalist. And I know I'm not going to wear some of this stuff. So create the spending plan. Pause before you purchase. If you find yourself in the mall, you find yourself walking around, stop. Give yourself a 24-hour rule. Even if you're on Amazon at night, don't press the order button. Wait. I do that often. It's like, do I really need that? And then I go back in like a week later and go, that was a midnight moment. Um, and next up, the third thing is to identify your spending triggers. When you find yourself in those situations, say, okay, what's going on with me? Am I bored? Am I feeling insecure? Is there a need not being met? And you have to dig deep and you have to get real sometimes. Are you stressed? You're not happy about something? Think about that. Spending, especially on things that are not going to bring you absolute joy, are not going to cure that. So I invite you to examine your last 5 purchases that you made. Were they mindful purchases or were they more on the emotional side, unconscious? This is a great starting point. And the more you do this, the more aware you're going to get. And when you have awareness, things can change, right? It's, I want you to be financially prosperous and financially independent, and that, that's self-defined. But it's about what you want. And the idea when I say financial independence, it's about you being able to, if you need something, you can go get it. If you need something for your health, you can just make sure it happens. If you want to do something for a family member, you can do that with no issues whatsoever. If you want to go on a trip with a friend because she calls you up and says, let's go to Italy. And it's like, okay, I can do that. I love the bubbles that come up when you use Zoom. Love it. A little bit more joy in life, right? So that's it in a nutshell for unconscious spending. I want you to really take a moment to see where you fall into that, in those patterns. And if you find that your mindset is not where you'd like it, I have at the time of this recording, because I know this lives on YouTube forever, I'm doing a 3-day workshop called Freedom Formula. It's called Freedom Formula. We will be talking about money mindset in it and manifesting and letting go of struggle. All of those things will be in those 3 days. It'll be powerful. If you've ever been part of my 3-day challenges or 5-day challenges, you know I deliver a lot. So I'd love to have you there. I'll put a link below so you can actually join us, and we will see you there. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I invite you to subscribe, like, share, and till next time, have an amazing day. And remember, if you're standing there in a store, just say, oh, I watched that YouTube channel and it's ringing in my head. Being a mindset coach, I'm in a lot of my clients' heads. It's kind of funny, but it's not. Anyways, with that, have a good one.